Alright, the next topic that I received a personal message about, somebody asked me to share my feelings and thoughts about when professional sports teams use native imagery as their mascot, basically, for their team, like the Braves in baseball or the Redskins in football. This kind of thing. This has been a long, ongoing controversy, and my position on it is obviously it's really disgusting racism. When I see, these white ball fans going to these games dressed up in face paint and these really goofy war bonnets and stuff. Number one, it's embarrassing for white people. To me, because I'm part Blackfoot, but for the most part, obviously I'm Caucasian. I got the blue eyes and the facial hair and everything. And I'm culturally Blackfoot, let's say, and genetically Caucasian. But even as genetically Caucasian, I was raised, the family I was raised in and stuff was pretty Caucasian. And I can tell you, as a white guy, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that white people are still so stupid, that they do these kind of things. It's humiliating. Please, white people, stop dressing up like Indians or anybody else. It's fucking goofy. It's so embarrassing. It's so humiliating. Even in that context, where you're just trying to have a good time, show your your enthusiasm, your pride for your team, and all that kind of stuff. Something's got to change, because it's retarded. I don't know how else to put it, but white people should just be embarrassed, for number one, and for that reason alone, regardless of the racism and stuff. Just for that reason alone, just from coming to the realization that they're being stupid and humiliating an entire, however many millions of white people there are out there, they should stop doing that. Change the team name. It's not that freaking hard. Change the name. Do something else, because what you're doing is really dumb. Then there's the racism side. Yeah, it's completely racist, and I don't want to say that First Nations and Native Americans have it worse than any other minority or ethnic group in the Americas, but in the Americas, really they do, because this is the homeland, right? This is their place, and yet you've got this overbearing colonial culture here. And the colonization, by the way, it hasn't stopped. We're not living in a decolonized context. We're not living in a post-colonialism. This is colonization right here. What's still going on here, and in that context, this is how the people this is their homeland, this is how they're treated in the context of this colonial culture, is that they're considered to be like another species, of like any other species of animal that was here. And so you see people using animals as mascots. You know, you see people using like mountain lions and grizzly bears and wolverines and, you know, all these, even beavers, blue jays, you know, all kinds of different animal mascots. And that's how the First Nations here are categorized too. Conceptually, they're basically just considered a part of the nature, right? And so it's okay, just as it's okay to use the animals, because those animals evoke, you know, different things. You know, maybe a grizzly bear is all massive and powerful and stuff. Well, there are qualities that people associate with natives too, and that's what, you know, is probably originally behind the use of the imagery in selecting that model as the mascot for a team. You know, when I went to middle school, in fact, our mascot was a native image, and we were called the Whitaker Warriors. We had little pins, like a native face, like off the old Buffalo nickel with Two Guns White Calf, who was Blackfoot, by the way. One side's Two Guns White Calf on the nickel, the other side's the bison. And the obviously what you're saying here is they're both going the same way, disappearing. And so that whole story about the vanishing natives so permeated white American consciousness that they think nothing of it. Like, they think, a lot of people think that there are no First Nations anymore. There's tons of people who are native and who claim it, and, you know, people who are from, you know, the res and communities, the original communities, people who still speak their language, people who still practice their ceremonies, people who still are totally embedded in their culture and their homeland, and all that's dismissed. And you get like the Simpsons just like picking on native casinos and this kind of thing. This is the face of the continued colonization of this landscape. So I'm adamantly against the use of native imagery in sports teams, mascots, and these kind of things. I'm totally against it, 100%. I think it's wrong. I think it's racist. I think it's a weapon of colonization. And I think for white people it should be embarrassing. For any sports fans, white people or black people, you know, in Blackfoot language, black people are just called Siksapikwan, black white people, because of how much of that culture they share, and because of their participation in the colonization. So those are my thoughts about that issue. And I think if you ask any native person, that's what they're going to say, is that it's bullshit, it's racism, and it should be stopped. Certainly that's what my wife and her family would say. Not that I'm speaking for them, but I know how my wife feels about that shit, and it's messed up. It's messed up. They're not doing that for anybody else. You don't see any sports teams called the Caucasians, You don't see any sports teams called Sambos, or you don't have sports teams like mocking Asians and white guys going to games, painting themselves brown and pulling their eyes and shit. It's fucked up. So yeah, I'm absolutely for changing those names. Not only changing those names, but I think those sports teams should make a gesture of good intention and reparation. And I think that they should help the reserve communities, maybe do something good for the reserve communities. Build some sports infrastructure, some fitness infrastructure, perhaps. And some of these communities are like third worlds. I'm starting to get pissed off. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.